Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first virtual coffee hour event of this academic year, organized by the Peace, War, and Social Conflict section of the American Sociological Association. We're very excited to kick this year off with a very important conversation on the ongoing conflict in Sudan. My name is Sehrazat. This year I'm the chair of the communications team of the section. And virtual coffee hours are just like a tradition. We try to organize these a few times a semester. We had a great streak last year, and we're happy to continue with great events and great participation this year. Before we start, I want to hand it over to Selena, the chair of our section, to introduce our speakers. And yeah, thanks, Selena. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. A huge thank you to Sehrazat and to our graduate student committee member, Alex Scrivener, who worked to put this panel together, and also to Ron Pagnuccio, who is here and who was instrumental in helping us get this panel together. As noted in the flyer, this was inspired by a recent special issue of the Journal of Social Encounters, which is doing phenomenal work in showcasing research on peace and conflict and reconciliation studies in Africa and by African scholars. This is a conflict that I think we're all deeply concerned about, and I'm really appreciative of these experts who have come here to educate us about what's going on, how is it being addressed, and what else can be done. So with that, I want to turn it over to them because we have just an hour to allow them to speak. And I will present our three scholars. First, Dr. Musa Adam Abdul Jalil, who is professor of social anthropology and director of the Peace Research Institute at the University of Khartoum. Dr. Mawa Mohamed, a co-editor of the special issue, and also research fellow at the University of Milano Bicocca, and Gabriel, a researcher in political studies at Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Before presenting on the dynamics of this conflict, causes and impact, Dr. Musa Adam Abdul Jalil is going to give us a general overview. And so I hand it over to you. Thank you all so much.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, my host, and thank you, the audience, for this chance to address you on the issue of understanding the conflict in Sudan and Darfur. I will just start by walking you through major milestones regarding Sudan's position in the most recent years. Sudan became independent since 68 years ago, and since that time it's plagued with conflicts and war ever since. Much of its time it was under military rule. So at least 52 years of that time was under military rule, and only 16 years of unstable democratic rule. So this is some of the basic things. Of course, the independence was in 1956. And civil war also inundated Sudan's recent history. So civil war in South Sudan lasted from 1955, just 1 year after the independence, up to 1970. So and then for 22 years after that, in 1983, until the comprehensive peace agreement was reached in Kenya in 2005. So that is 39 years of war in South Sudan. And so, but unfortunately, with the final chapters of the war, ending the war in South Sudan, another war started in Darfur, that is in 2003. and in Darfur, movements, armed movements started war there, and these armed, I will just talk about them later on when I talk about Darfur. But let me say that South Sudan exited Sudan in 2011 as a result of the comprehensive peace agreement. They get its independence, and later on another milestone was being witnessed. A popular rising brought the Bashir regime to its heels in April 2019 and then that started a shaky coalition of trade unions, opposition parties, and also in liaison with military from the Bashir regime. So it wasn't a total revolution as many of us would imagine or hoped. And therefore, the military actually overthrew the first coalition government of Dr. Hamdok in October 2021, and was reinstated after a few weeks, but it was short-lived because more conflicts plagued between the components of the government, and the rift between the civilians and the military widened, and they tried to fix it through what was called the framework agreement, but it didn't work, and that led to the ultimate breakout of war in April 2023, which is a war that has gained wider sort of coverage, and it's going until now with all the suffrage and all the ramifications regarding humanitarian conditions and IDPs and refugees and much of the complications, which I'm not going to enter in that, because I will avail more time to discussing issues pertaining to development of the state itself and also to Darfur. So I would say regarding the general conditions of politics in Sudan that actually led to this catastrophic results is that there are two major features impeded Sudanese political scene from the beginning. The first one is the ethno-regional and ethno-regional marginalization between bigger parts of the country. In the beginning, it was north-south, but that concealed another layer, which was east-west, or what we call riverine Sudan versus Western Sudan, which includes Darfur and Kordofan. This kind of featuring is not recognized fully by politicians who try their best to run their parties as if they represent the whole country, but underneath the currents can be not are noted by researchers and observers. So people try to mend defenses for the politicians, for the parties that they represent the whole country. They pose themselves as national parties and nationalist sentiments, but undercurrents show that there are polarizations based on regional differences. The other main feature, relates to the ethno-religious identity, which actually I consider as part of the identity politics that plagues the Sudanese political scene from the beginning in its post-colonial phase. And this one relates to the fact that major parties in Sudan pose themselves as parties that actually attempt to embrace Islamic culture in their programs. And they called for Islamic constitution and all the rest that goes with it, and also for putting forward the image of Sudan as a Muslim Arab country. Therefore, that put North Sudan in contrast with South Sudan, and that was the reason for that protracted war of 39 years with South Sudan that led to the independence of South Sudan. So I call this part of identity politics of Sudan, which is an undercurrent. But of course, not all Sudanese, and certainly not all parties, are approve of this postulation of Sudan as an Islamic Arab country. There are other forces that are against it. These are mainly leftist parties like the Communist Party, and other left-wing parties, in addition to small regional groups. But all in all, this is contested. That means this issue of ethno-religious identity of the Sudan was heavily contested, and it actually affected all national politics and affected the stability of politics, and therefore also affected the development of the nation, the modern state in Sudan. In other words, a part of the instability was due to this struggle and conflict between political elites. Sudanese politics ended up being highly polarized, and the one can see that this also relates to another factor, which is the proxy factor in the war. But I wouldn't go in that direction now. I switched to Darfur, which is another important aspect, and I consider Darfur as a special case because the war in Darfur continued from 2003 up to now. But the current war in Sudan started in April 2023. And according to this, there seems to be a tendency for this overall war in Sudan to overshadow what is going on in Darfur. So in a sense, as if the war in Darfur is forgotten. And that's why I call it call the war in Darfur, the current situation of war in Darfur, as a war within a war, because most people know that the war in Sudan is between the Sudanese armed forces and the rapid support forces. But within this, there is another war going on in Darfur at the moment, and it is, although in its general feature is between the RSF and SAF, but within it there are other nuances that are when small oppositional movements protesting over the neglect of Darfur started, in a sense of civil, non-militarized groups. But in 2003, it of course open military movements were formed, and as most know, there were three movements that started this thing: movement of Mini Minnawi, and movement of Abdul Wahid, and movement of Khalil, that is Jem. But these mushroomed later on by multiplying themselves up to 50 more branches. And this is also one of the complications of the war in Darfur. It's important at this to mention that the RSF was created by the Bashir regime in this process of as a part of the effort of the Bashir regime to counter the formation of the military movements in Darfur. So it created RSF, and it is ethnically based troops, sort of militia groups supported by the government, mainly from Arab pastoral groups in Darfur, to counter insurgents, as a counter-insurgency tactic. So these are the RSF actually was started in 2003 with the outbreak of the Darfur war. The causes for the Darfur conflict are many. My time is running short, but I will just refer to the fact that I consider there are root causes in the form of marginalization, underdevelopment, poor governance and rule of law, and proximate causes in the form of drought and climate change, herder-farmer conflicts, and politicization of tribal groups. And there are also catalytic factors in the form of regional interest and proliferation of small arms and cross-border mobility with neighboring countries, because Darfur is neighboring to at least 4 countries, Chad, Central Africa, South Sudan.
Dr. I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt, but if you can wrap it up, it would be really good so that we can move on. Thank you.
All right, 1 minute wrap up. Now the conflict has different levels in Darfur now. It has local, regional, national, even international level. And the current conditions is that the 4 out of 5 state capitals are under RSF control, and the resistance in North Darfur in order to prevent the full control of RSF of Darfur, which can actually trigger the starting of the further division of Sudan, and this is actually the problem, or the doomsday scenario regarding holding of the current Sudan as a political entity. The first one was 2011. South Sudan broke away. Now the prospects for Darfur to break away are within sight if al-Fashir falls and if our RSF fell back on Darfur, controlling Darfur and Kordofan, then that will lead into the breaking of the Sudan as we know today into further two other new states. So, of course, this is not as simple as that. There are different perceptions of war within and outside Darfur. Within General Sudan, people attach different, emphasize different elements. But I try to just refer to the most important trends regarding the causes that fuel the war, without going into details about secondary issues. So it's all about the formation of the state and the national integration that was never achieved. I stop here, Ani, and maybe in the Q&A session, one may elaborate more on certain points. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's so much to say. So hopefully we'll unpack more and more with our next speaker, who will be Mart Gabriel. Mart, do you need to share your screen for slides, or will you just speak?
I will share it here. Just a second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So everyone is seeing in the slide, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Mawa. And thank you for the kind invitation for the American Association for giving me this opportunity to share my research paper that I'm working on regarding the current conflicts in Sudan. I hope you guys are hearing me.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. The title of the paper is called "Explaining the Conflict in Sudan: Past, Present, and Future." And basically, I will try to look between the intersection between the past and the present, and how this is playing partly the current crisis in Sudan. As we know, Sudan political violence is not something new. It has been happening since 1955, when the first political act of violence that lasted to 17 years of the first Sudanese civil war, and then again after 10 years of peace between the South and the North, civil war again broke into Sudan in 1983 up to 2005. With the signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement between the government of Sudan and the rebel forces in the south. But before signing of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, as Dr. Musa mentioned, Darfur, the conflict in Darfur erupted in 2003, which has a huge impact to the current crisis in Sudan. And another also political violence or war that is still going on in the Nuba Mountain or South Kordofan since 1983, and in the Blue Nile that ended by the signing of the Juba Agreement, and last but not least, the current conflict in Sudan, which erupted last year, April. Can we move to the next slide? Yes, thank you. And basically, the main argument of the paper or the analysis that most of the peace agreement that was signed between the government of Sudan and the rebel forces have failed. However, for the current mediator, whether it's Saudi Arabia and Jeddah Forum or the US, they have to take into account the lesson of the past in order to achieve different results in the current crisis in Sudan. And also, key important analysis that a nationwide cessation of violence that need to be achieved, and also focus only on human security. As we have seen based on our study in Sudan, most of the peace agreement or only focus on other different issues, especially power sharing agreement and incorporating this rebel group into the government without only resolving the key issue that led to the conflict. That's why we have seen in Sudan conflict erupted after another in different period of time. So the approach for the mediator, it should be laying the foundation of lasting peace in Sudan, not only just to reach an agreement between the current parties to the conflict, Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces, because there are also other elements involved in bringing stability and lasting peace in Sudan. The next. Thank you. And this agenda or the key differences that we have seen during the transitional government of Sudan after al-Bashir government was overthrown, we can see clearly there are four elements: political marketplace, peace agreement, transitional justice, and security reform. These are four different issues that really the actors of Sudanese political parties, whether they are military or civilian, have totally key different understanding of the meaning of the political and how to achieve peace, and also how to conduct a transitional justice mechanism, and also how to reform the security sector. Differences of this agenda of the political parties led eventually to the collapse of the transitional government when the military took over General Burhan and General Hamiti, ending the collusion between the civilian and the military. And since October 2021, the international community tried to mediate again between the civilian and the military to bring back or to restore civil military transition government in Sudan. And on October 5th, 2022, as mentioned by Prof. Musa Adam, the framework agreement that was signed between the military and the civilian. And this agreement, during the course of the signing of the agreement, the tension already started between the Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces over key issue that I will discuss later in the next slide. Yes, the major differences between it was the issue of the command, who will be commanding the forces. The framework agreement stipulated that the high commanding of the armed forces and all the regular forces, it should be the prime minister, the civilian prime minister. General Burhan, a few days after signing of the framework agreement, in an interview with Al-Hadath Saudi channel, he stated that the civilian will not be oversight the government forces, the military forces, sorry. And also the same narrative has been said by the Hemeti himself, because both of these generals during the Bashir, they were very key ally to President Bashir. They rose to power, and after 2019, Hemeti, for example, built an empire, and it was very clear that he doesn't want to give up the empire that he has built. That's why both of these two generals were against the security sector to be under the civilian government or under the civilian prime minister. And also, not the two generals rejected the agreement. There are other forces also rejecting the agreement. Some are pro-COP, and also the other one are opposing the anti-COP from the beginning. Also, we have the Islamic who reappeared again in the political space in Sudan by backing the army against the civilian forces. And also the farmer rebel group who signed the Juba Peace Agreement in 2022 also, they were against the framework agreement because they saw it as a design mechanism that to bring back the civilian back to the power, which would undermine their alliance with the military. And looking at the dimension of the conflicts, we can identify 4 to 5 major issues that not only is the key differences between the parties to the conflict, but also with all other Sudanese political actors, whether they are civilian, the army, or there are other political forces there who were not part since the beginning of the revolutions. 2018, they were not part of any peace agreement. And we have, for example, in Nuba Mountain, Abdulaziz Al-Hilo, and in Darfur, we have Abdelwahid Mohamed Noor. Both of these gentlemen, they have a very clear agenda that Sudan need to be governed by a secular state, or on one hand. On the other hand, the Islamic forces, all the Islamic forces, were against the Sudan to be a secular state. So we can see there is ideological clashes between different actors in Sudan. Another key issues to help us understand the dimension of the conflict is the competition over resources, whether in the central government or in the region, for example, of Darfur. And also another thing in the ethnic conflicts, the regional hegemony. So basically, are the dimension of the conflict in Sudan, and are being fueled by external actors that are supporting one of the parties of the conflict. Sudan Armed Forces have its own regional alliance, and also Rapid Support Forces have formed its own regional alliance. Both of these alliances are affecting or are involved in the current crisis in one way or another. And also they have an interest in shaping the Sudanese political stability and political agreement or peace, or the peace later on. We have the civilian also on the other hand. Civilian after being in the power with the government have been split to multiple factions which have a different agenda. But the main freedom and forces now is called Tagaddum. They are in alliance with the Rapid Support Forces because they see the military are in alliance with the Islamic, and both they were against them from the beginning. And in order to look at the way forward from the current crisis, and for the mediator to achieve its goal in the achieving lasting peace in Sudan, we know clearly that security reform that has to be taken in Sudan, and this reform is related to the integration of the all forces to be under one command to achieve stability and also to preserve the peace, and also this army to be professional army. And also to include all other actors. The security reform is not just about the two parties of the conflict right now. It has to be open to all political parties, military group, in order to achieve a security reform in Sudan.
Mad, letting you know that you have 2 minutes left.
Okay, all right. I will wrap it up. Okay. I will move just quickly to the next slides because the DDR also program is related to the security reform. Yeah. Before that, yeah, the transitional, it is a key issue of the achieving stability in Sudan. The civilians have different view on how to achieve the transitional justice and stability. The military also want to be not to be accountable of the past atrocities. Hemeti also, he was accused of committing gross human rights in Darfur and also in Khartoum after 2019. So the issue of transitional justice is very critical in after the post-conflict in Sudan, and how the parties they look at how to achieve the stability in Sudan. And the way forward. Next, please. Yes. For the mediator to be able to bring all parties to achieving a peace in Sudan, the peace settlement, whether by Jeddah Forum or IGAD or African Union, has to be backed by regional and global power, especially the US, the UK, Norway. And also, Sudan needs to go under a comprehensive peace package that includes all the other parties, as I mentioned earlier. And another important thing, the economy. Sudanese, the war devastated Sudan, destruction. Sudanese lost everything, their savings. So in order for Sudan to be back into stability, it has to be an enormous economic support. It's like the Marshall Development Plan that has been supported the German after the World Cup too. And last, holding an election also is an important key issue need to be addressed. And before I conclude that, I want to just say this: there are two important things: justice and security sector. These are the important thing and has to be taken into account. Security is not about just the business of the military. Security is like just a business of education. It's like a service of health. It has to be inclusive, both civilian and the military. It has to be participating in it, and also in controlling the civilian and military relation. And in Darfur, special emphasis should be focused on the environmental change, issue of land, the issue of water, famine, IDPs, and refugees. These are important in Darfur to help Sudanese and in Darfur region to be back in stability. Thank you very much, and I look forward for the discussion.
Thank you, Mad, for this detailed overview of all of the actors and stakeholders and the dynamics of what's happening right now. Mawa, we turn it over to you. And you are muted.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I will share my screen. Sorry, I found some difficulties. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, SAA, for having us, and thank you, Prof. Musa and Mad. I'm here to talk about, with all this work, with all this strategy, raise the role of the women and youth. They raise from the ashes. They build social bonds. They build the community from the ground top. They are really strong. That they fight everything. So like women and youth are really crucial in the role of peace building, especially when it comes to Sudan, because youth play a crucial role in Sudan in the ending of the government that ruled us for 30 years. Like the revolution in Sudan, which erupted in 2019, was a powerful uprising led by a young people from both gender, united in their demand for a better living condition after enduring 30 years of oppressive under the Omar Bashir government. They took the street, determined to bring a change, tired from the regime that showed a little regard for its people. The Sudanese youth demonstrated a massive bravery, courage, and a courage standing up against oppression. Their struggle did not just end with the fall of Omar Bashir. After the government collapsed in April 2019, the people's demands were still unmet. Once again, they returned to the street, this time calling for civil freedom and peace. The revolution evaluated beyond just a protest for basic needs. It's become a fight for a right, a freedom and dignity, because we want a better government. We want a better ruler. We want people that look for our needs. So we want it like to be recognized like Sudanese people. So in one of the most strategic events of the revolution on June 3, 2019, the military and the primary force, including the RSF, they started to attack the protester, which known the Khartoum massacre, because in this event, This is, I remember, this is what the day before the Eid. So Eid for the Sudanese people had been like linked with this massacre because a lot of people had been died in that event. A lot of people had been raped and the bodies had been just thrown in the Nile so they can cover for their for the attack that's happened. But despite all of this, the youth, they didn't give up. They start and fight and fight. And until now, with this, what's happening in Sudan, they are still fighting. So to wrap it all up, let's see about the women history in Sudan. Women play a crucial role in building, like they have a political impact, they have a social impact. Like when I go out in abroad countries, they always look at me like a minorities, but what I see in myself, I see like a Kandaka, like a strong Nubian woman that can fight for her rights. So they do not look at us like a strong woman. They look at us like a Black African Sudanese woman, but we are more than that. We are a Kandaka, a strong women that have a significant change in our communities. Like Sudanese women have played a crucial role in the country's social, political, and revolution movement, embodying resilience and leadership in the face of adversity. Formed from the era of Mehera bint Aboud, that she used her poetry during the 1920 to the modern figure in 2018 and 2019 December Revolution. One of the most significant movements in the history of the Sudanese women empowerment come with the foundation of Sudanese Women Union in 1952, led by the figures such as Fatma Ahmed Ibrahim and Dr. Khalid Zahir. This organization campaigned women's rights and advocated for gender equality during a time when social norms were heavily ruled by men. In 1964, women played a key role in the October Revolution, leading to the first ever female permanent in Sudan and the Middle East, Fatma Ahmed Ibrahim. Like fast forward in December Revolution 2018-2019, where women once again stood at the front like they were the majority of the protesters, like about 60% of them. Their leadership was only leadership wasn't only like political, but also deeply symbolic. With the emergence of the Kandaka, the symbol represented powerful Nubian queen, emphasizing the role at the front of change. Women demand not just political reform, but also a deeper social change, including gender equality and anti-harassment measures. So what are the role of the women and youth in the current war? Now in Sudan, when the war erupted, there was about 7,623 events of political violence, and there were over 23,000 people had died. Also, in between 17th of August to 6th of September, the ACLED recorded over 290 political events, and about 430 people have been died. And there is also the RSF, like they used rape of the woman as a weapon to take the dignity of the people, which is really tragedy for the Sudanese people. Also, there is about over 8.6 million people that had been displaced and refugees in neighborhood countries. 25 million people, and most of them, like children, need a humanitarian aid like urgently. And there is about 17.7 million people are like in the line of the hunger. But what the role of the women in the peace building in the current war? Women play a crucial role in this part, and they women play a crucial role. They contribute across various dimensions, including grassroots, initiative, leadership in community, dialogue, and conflict resolution. By assuming traditionally overlooked or marginalized role, these women have redefined the gender norm and lead effort to rebuild their communities and social fabric. The transformative power of grassroots initiative in fostering recognitions and social cohesion in exemplified by the women agency in peace building. How women build this peace building process? They build it by individually or collectively. Individually by their role in the motherhood, like a woman, not just inside the household, but also outside their household. They take care of the children, because women narrative always about how I take care of other people's children, how I raise them, how I feed them. So they always take care of other children. Collectively, the women built a workshop to raise the awareness about the gender role, about the rights, about how they talk if they had been abused or had been a subject of sexual violence. So they play a crucial role in this part. Recently, many studies has been done in the collaborations with the British Council and the EU to study women peace building and youth peace building, mostly in Al-Gadarif, like you see in this area, in Al-Gadarif and North Kordofan. All of these studies found that, like the study in North Kordofan found that 61% of the women offer like a social support, and 75% like are a part of the peace effort. And they also promote a culture and peace by the songs. There is this traditional Sudanese songs in North Kordofan. They use this song to bring people together, to bring peace and to create social bonds and to break cohesion. Also, women in the rural, in the Gadarif area, contributed also in peace building by their initiative, birthday workshop, and by a lot of activities. So let's go to youth and how youth build peace in this current world. To talk about the youth and how they build peace in the current war, I have to talk about Sudan Resistance Committee, a true meaning of agency. The Sudanese Resistance Committee, also known as the Neighborhood Committee, represent a powerful grassroots movement that have played a crucial role in Sudan in the ongoing struggle for democracy and social justice. Formed in response to economic hardship and political repression under the regime of Omar Bashir, this committee evolved from a small, informal group into a widespread network that organized protesting. So to talk a little bit about this committee, because what they are doing now is really crucial. Okay.
Dr. Mawa, letting you know that you have 2 minutes left.
Okay. So let's go with important for the what this committee did. Okay. So there is a lot of the literature talk about how the war can shift us from mechanical solidarity to organic solidarity, and how everyday solidarity is different from crisis solidarity. Because when this committee had started, they had a political rules, but when the current war happened, they shift their goal from political to a social and human aid, because they saw that people need to be supported. People need and medicine, electricity, fuel, water, food, and everything. So this committee had created what's called emergency response room. This emergency response room had been created for the people to help them to see their needs, to offer electricity, fuel, and etc. This is what we call the ERS, the ERRS. They are in 8 main state. As you can see, is not separate, is not in all Sudan, which means there are still some areas need an urgent need and need the support. So the ERRS. Built by a young people from different gender, women and men, and from different age as well. So this is also show us how this committee is really strong. So this committee, by February 2024, have assessed over 4 million people, providing services like clean water and medical and supplies, and evacuated 10,000 from the conflict area. And they also give support for people who were subject to sexual violence. This map showed the distribution of the ERRS in the capital of Khartoum. And this is also, so the ERRS, that the one in Khartoum, they have a website, they show their activities. They have different activities, like they have a group, they have a woman initiative that they are just considered about the women problem, about their needs, and also they create a friendly space for the kids, because the kids after the war has trauma because they saw the deaths of other people. So they create a friendly area for them, so they can play, they can sing, and etc. They also have an office character, but what I want to talk also about the ERRS and what they did, what's called the traditional community kitchen, or what we call tekiya. The traditional community kitchen had long served as a critical source of food for the Sudanese people, because when the war started, Sudanese people literally lost everything: works, jobs, business. They left with nothing, just the clothes that they're wearing. They do not have any money just to feed themselves and their kids. So this initiative, the ERRS, created this kitchen. So this kitchen, when the war started, they were preparing 2 meals per day, and mainly this meal, they do not contain like meat. They just like lentils, beans, and some like small stuff. And now, because there is a lot of money that support this kitchen, they just afford they prepare 1 meal per day for the people, which is really less, because sometimes the families in Sudan, they are really big. So 1 meal per day, they cannot sustain a family that, like, the average of the family can be like 6 or 7. So they cannot sustain a family. This is another doctor. He's called. He is treat people for free. He does not take any money from them, and he also create a kitchen in the camp. So he also collects money, so he can prepare the meal with the people in the camp, so they can like a meal for a day. And from the bright side, what the light under the tunnel, yeah, although they didn't get the Nobel Prize, but the ERRS has been nominated for 2024 Nobel Prize, and this is a step forward for the Sudanese people to be recognized as not a people that had been suffered, but a people had a strong and a courage, and they can fight. So thank you, everyone, for, I think I will stop here.
Thank you, Mawa. Wow, what an illuminating look into the field of those who are working to do something to take care of each other in this time of crisis and to work for peace. Really, all 3 presentations were so meaningful. Thanks to all of our presenters. I wish I could have given you each an hour to speak, because I can see there's so much to unpack here. But at this point, let's allow discussion to unfold, and our attendees can lead the rest of the way as we hear questions. And